more than 30 years of professional experience.
He studied at the University of Texas and then moved to New York City.
He quickly became part of exploding downtown art, club, and music scene and began working as visual consultant, stylist, and model.
He progressed into photography in the early 90s and hired by Interview magazine and became a key photographer for portraits and fashion.
His work has appeared internationally in Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Vanity Fair, Cosmopolitan, L'Officiel, you name it.
His commercial clients were Anna Sui, Vera Wang, Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf Goodman, J. Crew, Target, and L'Oreal.
And in 2019, he launched his zine, LaChapelle, where he features photographs of models and artists in New York City.
Welcome to our podcast, Joshua Joyfin.
Hello, Joshua.
Thank you. Very sweet introduction. Thank you so much.
Is it true?
Yeah, it's true. I moved to New York in 1984. I was 23 years old, so that gives you an idea of my age, which I'm very proud of.
As you should.
Yeah.
And I had been living in Texas. I went to architecture school, but in Texas I was very interested in fashion and music. And I moved to London. And I lived in London for a year. I had a boyfriend, and he was in a band called ABC. It was a very big band at the time. They had a #1 hit in the world. It's called Shoot That Poison Arrow. And I really got involved in like the club scene there. It was the time like Boy George had his big hits. I was out at Camden Palace, all the clubs in London, and hanging out with all the kids in London. And I was working, but it was hard to work, as you know, being a foreigner in the US. Without paperwork, it's hard. So I worked only as a grill cook, and then I went out every night. And I was there for a year, and after a year I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't progress with my career. So I decided to move to New York. I had no idea. I'm like, okay, I had a friend that moved to New York. I'll move to New York. So I moved to New York City, and the first night that I arrived in New York, I went to a club called the Pyramid. You'll probably hear a lot about the Pyramid. It's gaining a lot of notoriety. It was the premier downtown drag performance art club. RuPaul was...
Where it was?
It was in the Lower East Side. RuPaul, who has RuPaul's Drag Race, hadn't even moved to New York yet. She moved to New York around the same time, performed there. A lot of there's a very famous artist named Taboo, who's got work in the Museum of Modern Art. The hairdresser Jimmy Paul, who's a very famous hairdresser, was doing shows, and I would go down in the basement and I would style the drag queens, and I would do their hair and tell them how to do their makeup, and I just sort of hung out, and that was how I just sort of got involved in the club scene. And I met a young lady named Kier, Lady Kier. And Lady Kier was, they were starting a band. Actually, I was in the band called Delight. And Delight was in the very late 80s, early 90s, blew up, and they became huge. And they had a #1 hit, Groove is in the Heart. And Lady Kier had an incredible style, and I was the one that put her in cat suits and flipped hair and 60s looks, and so I was styling her, and things were just going so fast with her career, and she was like, Josh, do you think you could maybe take some pictures of me? Because we're doing a video and I'm having these cat suits made, so I don't need any styling, but I have this feeling about you that you would be really good with taking pictures. Do you want to try? And I said, yeah, sure. So I borrowed a camera.
Not digital back then, right?
Not digital, film camera. At the time I was working a lot with David LaChapelle, who's also a very famous photographer. I would do the hair, the makeup, and the styling for his pictures. I was assisting other stylists. I was on set. I saw Stephen Meisel working, Annie Leibovitz. even Robert Mapplethorpe.
Oh yeah.
I was just an assistant, but I just was watching everything. And so I said, yeah, sure, let me try. So David said, okay, get the needle in between the two bars and you'll be fine. So I went on set with the camera and I did it, and the pictures came out really well. And there was a big star there who was in the music video named Bootsy Collins. Bootsy is from the 70s, and he was in a band called P-Funk. Black guy, extravagant outfits, wild, very famous. They were called Parliament and P-Funk. And Musician Magazine somehow saw the pictures, I guess through Kier or through Bootsy, and they bought the picture, and that was my first published picture.
Wow.
And it started this trend, and then Kier used all the pictures that I took of her, and the pictures are beautiful, actually. They're beautiful. I can't even believe it. And she used the pictures for her tour booklet. Then someone at Interview Magazine saw that I had shot Kier, because Kier was a really big thing. It was after Madonna. Madonna had already been, but she was sort of like the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And another art director that worked at Vogue asked me to shoot. So my first commercial jobs were with Vogue and with Interview. And I didn't know how to do anything. I mean, I just was on set. And so I had to learn fast. And I had always been looking at magazines, so I had a visual library within my head of fashion photography.
But aesthetic as well.
Yeah, an aesthetic. I started looking at fashion magazines, but I always loved clothes. And I love to get dressed up, and I love to put looks together, and I loved the idea of fashion. And then once I started taking pictures, I realized I just loved the way people looked. And I had this thing about, I think it's because my sister was so beautiful. She was incredible looking. I don't have pictures here. But I think, when I was a little boy, we would watch the Miss America contest and all these TV shows, and I'd be like, those girls aren't pretty. They're not as pretty as my sister. Like, I knew. And so I think it was something within me that just, I don't know, I had an affinity for beauty. And then looking, living in New York, looking at all the fashion magazines, I always loved Richard Avedon. I loved Bert Stern, these early photographers. Bert Stern did these backlit pictures of Marilyn Monroe. Avedon it was just one picture after another. I was so inspired by his pictures in the late 70s of Natasha Kinski with the snake. And I was working with David LaChapelle, and this was before he was doing wild color pictures. We were doing black and white pictures for Manor Vogue. We're shooting a lot of actresses, and I would go to thrift stores and get things. So I just really loved what I was doing and had fun, and it just was always fun. And I don't know, I had like a little lucky star above my head. As a stylist, I didn't do a lot of jobs, but the jobs that I did do were Liza Minnelli for her album cover, David Bowie with Annie Leibovitz for Vanity Fair, just really big,
Names.
important jobs. And I was just a kid, but I was working. I got a job at Vanity Fair assisting this woman, Marina Schiano. She's an Italian woman, very famous, was a model, worked with Helmut Newton all the time. She's like, Joshua, my darling, come here. And so she wanted me to go on staff full time. And I thought, I'm gonna ask for a lot of money because I don't want to be in a job. Like, I never wanted a real job. And I never had one. I had one real job my whole life.
Which
But
one?
when I first moved to New York, I needed money, so I worked at a showroom making jewelry. and I just clasped the jewelry. And then one night I asked the woman, could I bring some things home and design some stuff for you guys? She was like, yeah, sure. So I had a friend, Billy, who was also worked there. And Billy and I both brought stuff home, and we both created these necklaces. Mine was called a Mystic, and I did all silver and dark colored beads and stars and moons. And I made this mystical necklace, and it became, Billy and I's necklaces became the best sellers.
You know what I noticed? You said that was the only time when I had a real job.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that how a lot of people in fashion actually not considering their job as real.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, what I mean,
It's not
what I
9 to
mean,
5.
it was not a 9 to 5 job.
Every day.
Yeah, I've only been freelance my whole life.
But it
I
is
mean,
a
when I
real
was a
job.
kid in New Orleans, I mowed lawns in cemeteries. I scrubbed the bottoms of boats. I did any job as a
Real
child.
job.
Real job.
Yeah, I worked
Yeah.
from very young age in 103-degree heat, mowing lawns in cemeteries, whatever. But it was fun anyway. I never felt.
But from your story, what I wanted to point out, it sounds like fashion found you.
Yeah.
It sounds like you didn't feel it that way, but everything that happened to you happened because you were good for it.
Yeah, it was like a glove. It fit me like a glove.
So do you think your career was the career of your dreams?
No.
No?
I'll tell you what, when I moved to New York, I was very cute. I mean, that helped.
Yes.
I was young and I was very cute. Stephen Meisel photographed me with Lende Evangelista for Italian Vogue. I would do all the downtown magazines, like East Village Eye, this, that, the other, modeling. So I wasn't tall enough, and I wasn't there wasn't that type of model when I was a model.
But how was it for you being a model?
I liked it, but I never got an agent or did anything. It was just more like downtown stuff. I was on set with Steven, and he's like, Josh, you go get in the picture. You're going to be in your underwear with Lende Evangelista. And I'm like, okay,
Can you
sure.
find that
If
picture?
Stephen Meisel asks you to paint yourself purple and hang upside down, that's what you do. Because he's amazing. And I didn't like the pictures so much, which is unusual because I love his pictures, but it wasn't about that. I was a character, and they drew some eyebrows on me. It was interesting, but I learned so much being on set. And what I was saying is, like, shooting people, I realized that I'm always focusing on. Sometimes I would torture the girls because I would want them to look so
Few
good.
times, yes.
Yeah, I want them to look good. So I'm like, chin down, just a little. Like, hold it, don't move, don't move, don't move, don't move, because I want to make sure. So I think, and that's lightened up a lot in me. I'm much freer than I was, but there was a thing, like, I just would have such a strong vision of
What do you want?
what I want and how this girl looks beautiful. And I like commercial work too. I loved commercial fashion photography because in the time that I was looking at commercial magazines, there was just fashion, and it wasn't commercial or not commercial, it just was fashion. And some of those things became known as commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just a certain way that women looked and held themselves, and I always loved it.
Nowadays, when there was a big differentiation between commercial and fashion, don't you feel like fashion was more free in creating whatever you like?
I think,
commercial was
I think
more
it
strict?
still is. I think fashion's incredible, and I think the young kids that are doing it are amazing, and everyone's like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, and who does know what they're doing when they start?
Yeah.
I didn't know a thing, but I made sure that it looked like I knew what I was doing. Now you don't have to front. You don't have to look like you know what you're doing. All you have to do is show up. And that's what's amazing. It's like, just show up. if you have the opportunity, take it. If you have the opportunity, show up. You want to, you're starting your acting career, which is amazing. Show up. With accent, with no accent, it doesn't matter. You just show up. The excitement, the joy, and just showing up. And I'm kind of back in that place.
I was about to say, I can feel that you still have it.
Yeah, I'm
After
still
so many years, you still have
I
it.
still love it so much. I just shot this kid last week. This young kid from Arizona flew in. My friend flew him in. He wants to model. So I did some pictures of him. Palestinian kid, half Palestinian, half Greek. And I think everyone deserves.
Yes.
I think it's good. All of this is good.
Yeah.
Everything that's happening. I think that people taking pictures with their iPhones, people not knowing at all what they're doing, but really wanting to make an image. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm just for it all, and at every level. I mean, I can look at the Ralph Lauren ad and just like get lost in it and look at it with the loop and what kind of lighter were they using, or I can look at just like something that's really wacky and off the wall in one of these independent magazines and really appreciate it. So
it's a passion.
I still love it.
And how was it for, let's say, magazines when they tell you which girl is coming? Were you also deciding who you would like to photograph?
Yeah. I picked the models.
Do you have any formula for it?
Yeah.
Or it depends on the job or your mood?
I mean, it depends. It's different times what I like. I mean, I like tall, obviously. Surprise. I like long legs because it makes the clothes look good. And if I'm shooting clothes, that's what, And then once you get a relationship with a girl, then you're like, oh, I like her. I want to work with her again. And as many opportunities as you can to develop relationships with people. Like I worked with you quite a bit, Vlada, and I worked with you quite a bit, Ines. So there's no formula. It's just what I like. I have an eye. I mean, listen, I shot Giselle Bunchen for, it was a magazine from China called More Magazine. It was her first. You'll hear a lot of girls, oh yeah, Josh was the first one to shoot me. Because I have an eye. I can see I can see it. I just can see it. I can go through the cards and like, oh yeah, Joan Smalls, the same thing. Galeries Lafayette, catalog job. Lara Stone, like Lara was leaving New York. I shot her and she was leaving New York. I'm like, why are you leaving? You are incredible. What is going on? She's like, oh no, I'm just going to go back to Holland. It's not really working out. And then later someone else found her and she became a big star. I didn't have that power to
launch her.
Yeah, to launch the girls. But I always would see. It's so hard, the business. You have to love it.
No, yeah.
And sometimes you want to give up. Sometimes you want to give up. Many times. And then you pick up the camera or you do a job and you're like, fuck, I really like this.
It's a journey, yeah.
Yeah, a journey. So I think it's like keeping the highest vibration in our heart. It's like really working hard with the mind to not go into a negative place, like open to possibility. There's so many ways we can look at it, and if I get in a negative head, I really try to pause because I've been in really negative places.
How do you deal with rejections? How do you deal with negative? Because
it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard.
How do you deal with it?
You just acceptance. If you knock on the door and no one answers, open a window. If there's no window to open, build a doorway.
Yeah.
So, there was that period during the pandemic and like I had left my agent. I had sold my apartment. Didn't know what I was doing.
You sold it and you did what?
I wanted money. I just didn't feel like not working, not having money. And I just wanted to, it was time to sell the apartment. I had it for 20 years and I sold it, and I was like, I'm gonna move upstate. And then I went upstate and I looked around and I was like, I don't wanna live upstate. and so I moved into a beautiful apartment in London Terrace where I can shoot portraits, and I started the zine, LaChapelle zine.
Tell us about it.
It's really cute. I mean, I actually started it a little before the pandemic, and I started it with Paolo.
Oh.
Because Paolo called me because I never tested models ever. I never even did a test to become a photographer. I just shot my friends and just things happen. So I do everything backwards. So Paolo had this beautiful black girl named Saba, African girl, and said, oh, Josh, can you do some pictures of Saba? So I was like, yeah, sure, send her down. So she came over, and I just styled her with stuff in my closet, and I called a friend that was a makeup artist. I'm like, will you come and just do some makeup, bring gold? So we did a shoot on Saba, and I'm like, I want to print these. I want to do something with these. Should I start a zine? And because of Delight, like I was telling you about the band, we used to always joke and speak in fake French. And like Kier and Kier has songs like Je m'appelle, so like in the songs, Je m'appelle is like the first thing that you learn when you learn French. My name is, and so like we would always just put Je m'appelle in to make it like fake French. So we just named the zine. I'm like, what about Je m'appelle? And it was really cute because it was like Je m'appelle Saba. And so we just started it, and my assistant at the time is an artist, and he was into leather guys and, you know, like the bondage and gay sex scene and stuff, and he was taking pictures of like these men of very cool, like all different sizes and shapes, and he was having zines printed. He found this printer in London, and it's a very good printer. And so I'm really apologized I didn't bring it with me. But so I laid it out. It was another thing that, you know, you learn along the way. You have to learn to do layout, design, you know, all of it, InDesign, Photoshop, I retouch. It's just, you know, this business will keep you young and moving forward. You know, if you're engaging in your craft or what you're doing, you know, you want to move forward, you're learning acting, you're doing, you know, these you want to expand, you want to have a thought.
That's a podcast for me.
Yeah, when I started taking pictures, it was like, okay, there's Stephen Meisel, there's Patrick de Marchelier, there's Annie Leibovitz for portraits, and I just was like, and there was nobody really shit working, or I didn't look at it anyway if it was shit. So I was like, that was the bar that I set for myself. And I would take, it was film photography at the time. I would take a magnifying glass, go up to the pictures because I didn't assist. I had to teach myself. And I would look in the eye and be like, okay, that's a round light. What kind of light was it? Oh, that's an umbrella.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's a silver. I would study the eye because I could see what the lighting was.
The eye of the models.
The eye of the models in the magazine. And I could figure out what the lights were. Because I had been on set, so I knew what...
That's pretty incredible.
So,
but that's a skill and talent.
Well, when I went to architecture school, part of architecture is when you go to school, they teach you how to think. Mm-hmm. It's not really design. Mm-hmm. It's how do you think? How do you problem solve? And so that was what I learned in school, was problem solving. And
so you used it to teach yourself?
I remember being in college and like feeling my brain go, I'm not kidding.
That's so funny because I feel my brain sometimes goes like
Well, I don't know. It felt like the learning, like I got it. I got something from that. Part of what I did, and then this is the more cosmic part of it. I'd been styling and consulting and doing little modeling things. I wasn't really interested in any. I mean, I liked it, but it was like I'm like, I'm not gonna keep track of earrings and shoes. I don't care. And I'm like, I don't want to lose a gold earring and have to pay so much money. It's like a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And let somebody else do it. And I told David, I'm like, David, I think I want to. He's like, well, you just take the 35. You've seen me do it. Just do it. So he was very supportive. And so I started taking some pictures in my apartment, and then, Kier, and then it just kind of developed. I have a guru, and I met my guru when I was 27 years old, right when I turned 27. And so a lot happened between 23, it was only a 4-year period.
But the life changed a lot.
Yeah, that changed a lot. And so when I was 27, I met my guru, and I began to meditate.
Wow.
And
Before it was fashionable.
Yeah.
yeah, it was 1987. I went to India. I spent a month in India.
Where in India did you go to?
I went to a small town north of Mumbai called Ganeshpuri.
Mm.
I had a very powerful experience when I met my guru upstate, and I had a very powerful experience. And like, there's a whole part of me that I don't really reveal, but a very mystical part of myself. And it starts with my family, Croatia, the Virgin Mary. The story is so long, I get goosebumps when I think about it. I had a dream with the Virgin, and she came to me, not in her physical form.
Before India or after?
This was in 1985. I had the dream with the Virgin Mary.
Oh.
And I woke up and I was in a room, stone room, and it was very ancient, stone room. It was so ancient that I opened the shutters to the window. There was no window, it was just shutters. It's before pre-windows.
Yes.
Okay?
Pre-windows.
Pre-windows. And it was a Mediterranean city. It was probably Dubrovnik. And all orange tile roofs. I've never been to Dubrovnik. Birds were flying and the sky was beautiful, and bells started to ring. Boom, 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 boom. And I turned to my side, and the room went very dark. And I went into the darkness, and there was a shrine on the wall to a woman. I didn't know, I couldn't see, and I just got on my knees, and the only prayer I knew was Hail Mary. So in the dream, I say 3 Hail Marys.
Wow.
And it was like, wow, and then I woke up, I'm like, that's a really incredible dream.
Did you, when you had a dream, did you realize it's a dream, or it was
real? In the dream, I dreamt I was sleeping, and in the dream, I dreamt I was sleeping and woke up, but I was still dreaming. So it was like crazy layers of reality. And I called my mom, and I said, this is really weird. I just had this dream. The other interesting thing is, the night I had the dream, I read this book. And the book was called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. It was a book from the 80s.
I know the book.
It's a very powerful book. It's very simple. And I remember reading the book and being like, wow, this is the first time I've ever heard the truth. Like, have a thought and make it a reality. And this was 1987.
Yeah, a long time.
And so I went to sleep, I had this dream, I called my mother, and my mom said, well, it's interesting you had a dream and you said the Hail Mary because in 1985, before the war broke out, Serbia and Yugoslavia, when everything was divided, the Virgin appeared to 4 young children and asked the children to pray for peace.
Oh, wow.
And my mother sent a letter to someone that was going to visit them and said, would you pray for my children? Because I'm the youngest of 7. I'm real Catholic family. And I had this dream.
Wow.
We have to take you to Dubrovnik. We have to go to Dubrovnik.
Yeah, I want to go. So, I mean, there's more to that. I told you about.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Yeah. So anyway, then a year later, maybe a year and a half later, I was 27. So I was 25 when I had that dream, but it might have been 25 and a half, whatever. I met my guru, and I remember like I was still like kind of club kid, and I had like a skin tight bicycle racing outfit, like lycra, and like a hat with things on it, and Vivienne Westwood boots. I was like really all tricked out, and I got up to the ashram, and they're like, "Excuse me, sir, you can't come into the ashram."
What?
Dressed in hot pants and like halter top. My mother had asked in this letter, take care of all of my children. Well, my sister had called me and said, hey, I'm going upstate New York to meet this woman, Guru, and her name's Guru Mai, and she was Baba Muktananda's successor. And it just so happens that I was living in an apartment with 4 boys. Now, all those guys that I live with, one of them's named Dan Minahan. He's one of the biggest directors in the world now. He did Game of Thrones, he did True Blood, he did
Where was that apartment?
on 52 McD.
There is something in that
No,
apartment?
I don't know what the energy that happened at that time was really wild. And then Fernando, who's like one of the biggest decorators, AD 100, he did the Orchard Hotel, he did the Chateau Marmont, he did the Maritime Hotel. Like this whole, and we were just kids at the time. So whatever. Anyway, we all went up to meet Gurman. And my sister introduced me, and I went home, and I never told this story on a camera, but I had a dream, and I dreamt, this is very woo, I dreamt that Gurmai and I were holding hands, and we're floating in a beautiful sky, and she looked at me, and this energy came out of her and went into my mind. And floating above my head was a lamp. And when the energy went into my mind, beams of blue light came out of my eyes in every direction. Just like, wow, like cosmic moment. And I woke up and I told my friend, and the guru, this certain guru that I met, she initiates people into meditation through transference of energy through a look, whatever. And I had this desire to start meditating. And because even at that time, like I had a lucky star floating above my head, but I was still really confused and going to clubs and, just New York. I was young, yeah.
In New York,
but I mean,
the 90s, come on.
Yeah, but I didn't have, my mother's very religious, and my family, when we were growing up, had money, but when I left home, I've never taken one penny from my family, nothing. Actually sent money home to take care of them. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Took care of my mother, bought my mom cars, and
but
not
really
in
Eastern European kind of.
Yeah, you take care of your family, but my mother's not greedy. It was just like you just do.
Because you love her.
Yeah. And anyway, so I started to meditate. And because I meditated, everything opened within me. And I would have dreams about photography. And the big dream that I had was with Garen. Do you know who the hairdresser Garen is? And Garen, in my dream, taught me how to do photography. And I always tell him this. So he's like, okay, what do you do?
Wait a second.
It's just a dream.
Did you meet Garen before?
I had been on set with Garen and stuff.
But just on set, you were not friends?
No, not friends, just weirdly had a dream. But I liked his work. I love Steven's work, but I'd always be like, fuck, look at this hair. Garen is a genius. I'm like, what? And I'm obsessed with hair. And I'm obsessed with every part of fashion.
The whole process.
Yeah. I mean, these people are like heroes to me still. So Garen was like, okay, you put a white box, da 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 da. I don't know what he said, but it was I really believe I download, because I don't know
You downloaded the information.
I downloaded all the information to do what I needed to do to fulfill a vision that I had.
So actually, your dreams prepared you for the fashion because fashion picked you.
Well, it was just photography. It was like I needed to know how to.
But there is so much. Like
Yeah.
if you're a photographer, you have to be aware of other things, styling, what you
Right.
want, what you like,
Right.
hair, makeup.
All that was there. All that was
Yes.
there, and I had to like figure out.
Final.
But the technical was there too because I went to architecture school and it was there. I think that if I was interviewing you, Vlada, or you, Ines, you would have similar stories of like, how did this happen? How did this wonderful life come about? What was the great, there's so much, and you, Anna, there's so much grace in our lives. There's so much abundance. And when we step out and we reach, when we just show up, miraculous things happen.
Do you think that's a bit of craziness in us? Like to risk?
A good craziness.
Yes, in a good
A
way.
risk-taking, cuckoo person that I am, yes.
Is there anything you say you risked for your career?
I had nothing listen, growing up I had dyslexia. I can read, I can write, I'm an intelligent person, but I did not perform well with
Standards of
yeah.
education.
Yeah, it was really tough for me. I just was being guided to what I could do and what I could excel at. And it made, there's nothing lasts forever. So I'm still doing it, but it may not be there forever. But I have a legacy of information and experience and love.
But it's a gold. You cannot buy and sell experience.
It's, I have a lot of love. That's what, I was telling that to Ines on the phone. It's so much about loving what we do and loving ourselves and stumbling and falling down and not loving ourselves and hating ourselves and then figuring out, oh wait, I do love myself, and like, so we go through so many things, and
it's a journey, it's a process.
Thank you. That's it, So here I am, and
so tell us, then LaChapelle is, you promise you're gonna start working on that again?
Yeah, I have to, yes, I will.
You also still have a lot of passion for it.
Yeah,
and
I do.
that would be like really shame to stop it, to block.
Yeah.
I think that's how people.
Yeah, I like creating beautiful imagery, and I love working with people.
Have you ever lived in Europe and worked in Europe?
No, I haven't. I think it might. I've had a lot of recommendations to do so.
Because you did a lot of work for European markets.
Yes.
I've only really worked for European magazines. Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Being American, living in New York, working a lot for European, but never lived in Europe.
No, I mean I lived in London, and I worked so much in Paris at one point, and I do speak French pretty well actually.
LaChapelle.
Yeah, LaChapelle. And my mom is actually half Croatian, half French, like I told you. So, and New Orleans is a French city. So, and it's such a beautiful place, and it does draw me back. I'm always like looking at.
That's one of my favorite cities in US.
It's quite dangerous. And
I
it's
know,
hot.
but it's so beautiful. The energy, everything is just.
But I really believe in meditation. I believe in developing a spiritual life. I believe in self-care, exercise, eating well, taking care of yourself, and having a dream.
That's something that we actually want to promote with this podcast as well, because people believe that in fashion everything is the opposite. Like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's like a myth. But I think people in fashion do really believe in all this.
Well, when I didn't tell you this, when I met my guru, that was 1987, when I woke up that next morning, I made this decision. I was never a heavy drug user or anything like that, but I just made a decision. I'll never drink or do any drugs again. And I haven't since 1987. So I don't know how many years that is.
Congratulations.
And that clarity, that decision brought so much clarity and health to my mind.
And you look the way you look.
Well, that's nice to say. But
But it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I've
Thank
seen
you.
you after like 6, 7, 8 years,
Mhm.
and you didn't. To me, you didn't age not even a day.
I think I have a very young heart and a lot of love. So you know.
Well,
and-
that's a message and
Yeah.
advice also for younger
Yeah.
generations, because sometimes they can feel lost. We want to inspire younger generations with the stories
Yeah.
like yours.
Well, you gotta you gotta do it, and don't worry if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
Do
we're
it
doing for this
anyway.
podcast.
Do it anyway. If
Do
you
it
have a
anyway.
light bulb and an iPhone and you want to shoot for ID Magazine, go for it.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people who think that they need to finish those classes, go to that school, go to that, do that. And I mean, it's
One of
all
the-
important, but
Louise Hay said you have everything you need right now
Within
to
yourself.
do everything you need right now to do what you want to do.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean you're gonna have, you're gonna own your own network.
Yeah, when I start, my idea about the podcast was in my head for a long time, but I was afraid, I don't know this, I don't know that, I have to, let me learn this, let me check this. And then one day I just give up, because I realized that every single day there is something new that I will have to learn if I want to start, and I just gave up. And one day I was like, I just need a team. I just need a good team,
Yeah, a
and
team
we will
is so
learn on the
imp-
road.
Yeah, a team is so important. I always had studio managers, and that was a big key. I had people working with me,
Yes.
and that's a big key to success, is having people help you and
Yes,
being
that-
open
that's-
to help.
that's-
Joshua, how was it for you to transition from analog pictures to digital? Because
Well, I love Stephen Meisel, right? And he's
we all love Steve.
Yeah, he's a hero. And Steven started shooting digital. So I was like, oh, okay. Steven started shooting digital. I'm shooting digital. And I think he was the first one,
Was
believe it or not.
Mm.
He was the first one.
When was that? Do you remember?
A long time ago. I mean, I was one of the early ones, because a lot of my friends and connections were, the people that I connected to were all working with Steven, and like I said, Steven shot me, and so I knew, and oh yeah, Steven's doing digital. I'm like, okay, it's time to do digital, because if Steven's doing it, that's he's at the top of the game, and that's what's next, and that's
That's the road we should go.
that's the road we should go. So at first, I just shot digital and had great digital techs, and I had teams of people, and I was working at a very high level as well. So, the budgets were insane. So I would have $4,000 to spend just on the digital team. That would be, renting the digital cameras and having a digital tech, and you'd have two techs, one printing out stuff, and then I had a retoucher. And so I learned everything by working with, and I love to work with people, and I always have a team of people, but if I had to do it all on my own, I know how to do it all myself. And that's like amazing.
You're self-taught. That's why.
Yeah, I learned I can retouch.
But you always have a lot of people on set. There is always a big team with you.
Yeah, not so much anymore, but yeah, when I did L, there I had 3 assistants, which is a lot in this day and age. Like,
Yeah.
it is.
When we worked together, you always had an amazing big
4.
team.
4 or 5, 3. It'd be 3 assistants, and a digital tech, and so 4. Yeah, and then the hair, the makeup, be a big team. So, but that's how I learned. I don't know. That's how I learned to do it.
Is there anything in your career you regret doing it, or?
I just regret that, I don't have a regret for being so passionate and so like loving and being a perfectionist. But I think that I've been rough on people, because to get something of a really high quality and not having the tool, always having the perfect tools to work with others, which has come with age.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah.
I think
Which
it's
has come with age,
Yeah.
and now I do have those tools.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
I-
experience, a life experience
do-
that brings you that.
and you know, in years and years and years of meditation and going to therapy and figuring out,
Working on yourself.
working on myself, and you know, all of it, this career gave me a life, and I embraced it fully, you know, and like working on myself, meditating, knowing I needed that to, everything supported each thing, and they were all very healthy choices.
Is there any work that you love specifically because of something? Any project? Or you hate?
I don't, because sometimes I thought I hated things, and then I go back and I'm like, are you crazy? It's so good.
Yeah, I have that very
Yeah, are you crazy?
I
It's
hate it
so
for like
good.
a few days or months or something. Then I'm like, why? I don't know.
Yeah.
What was wrong with me? But
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm loving some of the LaChapelle images. Some of them are really amazing, and that they were done on such a small like scale, and that you wouldn't know if it was shot in Pier 59 or shot, you know, in the back of a pickup truck. You know
But
what I'm
that's
saying?
the magic.
Yeah.
That's the magic
Yeah.
that you have.
I'm very proud of all the work. I really stand behind my work.
Would you do anything differently now?
I guess I am doing differently. It's all been assimilated. So the change, it's like when you grow, you don't notice you're growing. And then you look, you know, you get a plant and you don't notice that it's growing. And then all of a sudden it's like this huge plant, and you're doing things. I'm always doing things differently. I would like to have more patience, more love, more kindness, more presence, more awareness, more planning, you know, just more of the good qualities I would like to bring, to continue to
Those
bring
are
to my work.
feelings, yeah.
Yeah, but also patience, you know, like to really think about things. And yeah.
Do you think you can have patience and passion at the same time?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you have a passion, you're eager to
It's
rush
like,
it up.
yeah, and that's why I think it's like learning to hold an energy.
I'm in that process of learning to hold.
Yeah. I mean, there's also certain things that we just believe about ourselves, and nothing can shake that belief. It's like, you know how smart you are. You just know it. Nobody has to tell you.
Yeah.
You know it.
And how far you can go.
I know I have vision. Vlada, you know, like, you have a certain grace about you. It's not about how you look. It's something within you. There's like this elegance. It's like just this natural grace. And we all have like these little qualities that we just, and so understanding that, and then it's like as we practice patience, it becomes part of us, like that natural grace that you have, or that belief in your intelligence.
But we don't always know it.
No.
From the beginning.
No, we develop it.
And
Yeah.
you work on it if you want.
I didn't know, like, I could even take a picture, because I had bad eyes. I thought I couldn't focus the camera.
Is there any favorite equipment you have, or just
I mean,
iPhone?
I tell you, I did love shooting film, and there was a camera I never bought. It's the Pentax 6.7 with a Polaroid back. It's a camera Stephen Meisel used to use in the studio with like Christy and Linda when he was shooting more daylight and hot lights. Camera Bruce Weber used a lot, and you can still get them, but I'm just not shooting film anymore. But it's a large format camera, like the negative's about this big, but it shoots like a old-fashioned 35 millimeter. It's just a really simple camera. I love the look of those pictures. They're just soft and beautiful. And I can recreate any, because I've gotten to a place with digital, I can sort of recreate anything digitally. But then I got an RZ, which is like which was like a camera that I could shoot at any, like I could sync the flash, it was very versatile. It was a workhorse as a camera any Leibovitz used it. Like I could do extraordinary things with it. and I wanted to do extraordinary things with my photography.
But
You know,
you did.
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah. Like I wanted to do extraordinary lighting. I wanted to do, all that. Now I'm into something softer and different, but it'll change too. I mean, I see pictures with flash outside and I'm like, kind of want to do that again. Do you know what I mean? So I'm still
Why not?
excited. Yeah, I'm still excited.
I want to say thank you for sharing your personal experience with us as well, not just your career stories. And I think that's very useful for us. That's what is the most important for me to learn new things about the people I know.
And and the thing that I think is, as we develop that spiritual life, whatever we gain on the outside, we have to develop it on the inside. And I think that that's why, honestly, I had that career that I had where I was, at a certain point making well over $1 million a year as just this kid, because of the inner
drive inside.
Yeah. The consciousness, the awareness, that life within creates this, and our thoughts, and if we're thinking bad thoughts, it's okay. If we're negative, it's okay. We just realize that we are, and slowly try to change that and work with it, and get excited to see when we do work with changing our thoughts and see the positive outcome in our lives. And listen, life is like this, and that's it. I'll tell you one last story. I gave a talk for some people. It wasn't about photography. It was something else, and I asked everybody to close their eyes and meditate for 1 minute. And so we all closed our eyes and we just meditated for 1 minute. And I had a vision in the meditation of the beach. And the tide went out, and the beach was a mess. There was trash everywhere. And this is 1 minute, and I started picking up all the trash, the plastic bottles, everything, and throwing
inside
it.
of your...
Yeah, just in my thoughts. It was just like, like so fast, the thought. And while I was picking up all the bottles, I found a jewel, like a stone like this. It was like a moonstone. I don't know if you've ever seen a moonstone. It's like blue and iridescent, like an opal, but bigger. And I picked it up, and it was like shining. And then the meditation was over. And I didn't tell anyone.
When was this?
A week ago, 2 weeks ago. I didn't tell anyone about it. And everyone started talking about the ups and downs of life and how things come and they go. And the vision was about the tide goes out, and we're able to clean up the beach. We're able to go and collect all the things that aren't working.
What we want and what we need.
Yeah, we collect all the things that aren't working and clean everything up and throw all that junk away. But in the process, we find the jewels. We find these really incredible things. So it's just like that. It's like there's going to be periods where things go away, and you clean everything up. You look at everything. It's not, and you figure stuff out. And not only do you get rid of some garbage, but you also find the incredible jewels that you wouldn't have found if you just kept going.
This is an amazing story, but also what I wanted to say is we decided, both me and Vlada, we spoke about it with this podcast. We want to reconnect with people that we worked with, that impact our career in some way. And we're at the beginning, we're going, because me and Vlada, we kind of did similar kind of work, and we worked a lot with same people, because in beauty is...
And you know what's so wonderful is there's still so much work.
Yes,
and you can age in the career now. You can get older. Yeah, but actually they want you to. It's like, could you look older for the casting?
So our work and people that we worked with was 10 plus years ago, and all this story that you're telling
that
us.
was the heyday of my career. The time
ours too.
Yeah.
But now, as we said, we're going down and up, growing, and reinventing ourselves. That's what we're doing with the podcast, and we want to see where are the people that we worked with.
Yeah, I think it's
Now,
a great idea, and I think that abundance and like connection, everything happens through connection. It's not like, oh, higher power or God or the Virgin Mary did something amazing. It's because I had an open heart and I was talking to people and excited, and the excitement connected me to others, and that's what brought the work in, not that belief. That belief just propelled me to want to talk to other people, to show up, to not be embarrassed to tell my story, to expose my mistakes or what, whatever.
And now as I'm sitting here, I'm so thankful that we are here, because whenever we work together, we never had time to actually talk. I mean,
Right.
we do have a lunch break for
Right.
like 20 minutes,
Right.
but we never had this kind of conversation. So
Right.
I'm really happy that you showed up here today
And shared
It's
your
incredible
life
to
story,
know
not just,
you.
we know your work story,
Yeah.
career story, but your life story that you shared with us and with our audience is just extra treasure, because we had that relationship with you for a long time.
Yeah, well, I hope that we can renew our relationship,
Definitely, yes.
and I think that what you're doing to expand your connection and feel your importance and your power, and that you can talk to people and advocate for others and be present is very good.
We have one fun game that
Okay.
our producer Anna invented. So we're gonna ask you questions,
Okay.
but you have to answer quickly. No
Okay.
thinking. Coffee or Irish coffee?
Coffee.
London or Paris?
Paris.
Sunrise or sundown?
Sunrise.
Zebra or polar bear?
Zebra.
A book or movie?
Movie.
Black and white or color?
Black and white.
So salad or pasta?
Salad.
Jazz or house?
Jazz.
Studio or location?
Oh my god. Location in the studio.
Okay, that's a good one.
Analog or digital?
Digital.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Of course.
But I love cats.
We miss
I'm
Nico.
obsessed with cats.
We
I
miss
mean,
Nico, but we
On
would
Instagram,
love
I'm like looking at every fucking cat video. I'm obsessed with cats.
to... So is there a cat knocking on the door?
No, it'll always be
What
a dog.
Rufus would say.
Rufus would love it.
So we hope to meet Rufus.
But it's really great to see you guys, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for, advocating for just, I feel very supported and thought of.
You should.
Thank you very much.
You should.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for watching and listening. And please remember to subscribe and follow, and check all the hashtags that Anna posted.